Welcome to the Sooners 360 Recruiting Podcast. I'm Chris Mason, lead recruiting analyst for Sooners 360. This video is sponsored by Sooners 360 on Patreon. To support this video, please go to patreon.com/Sooners360-817 and subscribe. It's only $2 a month. There's also a free trial option. I'm posting all of my regular recruiting content there moving forward. Link is also in the description below. We're excited that Sooners 360 is also part of the Believe Podcast Network. Every team, everywhere, every topic. This episode covers the recent recruitment to OU by wide receiver Marcus Harris. So the recruiting process for Marcus has been a little interesting. He's had visits scheduled to places like UGA, UCLA, and he did have a visit scheduled for UT next week, which I believe is canceled based upon his public commitment to OU and OU's policy, Brent's policy on that stance. So I haven't mentioned Marcus for probably about 3-4 months. He's not been any of my predictions as part of the recruiting class. Until last Thursday, I really hadn't given Marcus Harris a lot of thought as being a factor in OU's recruiting class. He had been sort of on the periphery. OU's been trying to recruit Mater Day, the high school Marcus attends, the California powerhouse. The last Mater Day guy OU got was Jeremiah Cradell. But Mater Day just produces players year after year. So OU's obviously been trying to, keep a California pipeline going, or open a California pipeline rather. So, Harris has been to OU, I think, a couple of times last fall, but he's not been a factor in OU's wide receiver recruiting for, at least not publicly or from a tracking perspective for about a couple of months. But that all changed last Thursday. He had an open window in his schedule. OU asked if he wanted to come visit. He visited OU. UT's trying to land DeCorian Moore and a couple of other sort of 5-star type wide receivers. So I think they let their guard down on Marcus Harris a little bit in terms of recruiting him. So did some other schools. UGA is always trying to, pull in some 5-star wide receivers. This is what happened last year with Zion Raggins. UGA kind of, didn't pay attention to him, and OU swept in and got his verbal commitment. So UGA's kind of been trying to focus on some other, regional big names. And I think, I think schools have left an opening for OU. UCLA trying to push, but, OU's brand name right now is just so far superior to UCLA's in terms of football development and just in general. So he came in for a recruiting weekend, and this speaks to the power of you don't dare underestimate Emmett Jones, the OU wide receiver coach. He's always been a great recruiter. You add to his recruiting weapons the OU brand, OU's history at wide receiver, D.D. Westbrook, Sterling Shepard, C.D. Lamb. It gives Jones even more things to recruit with, more weapons to utilize in recruiting. So Harris, the social images started coming out around Saturday, and there started to be a little buzz that OU had made a move on Harris, and then he committed on Monday. I think the timing of the commitment surprised a lot of folks. Canceled the rest of his visits and has been very upfront in public interviews that this is it. He's choosing Oklahoma and wants to help OU close out this recruiting class. So what is the current recruiting ranking situation for Marcus Harris? He's highly ranked. He's a composite 4-star by On3 and 247. He's, in the top, inside the top 200 with 2 of the services, just outside the top 200 with the other 2. I think he was at one point a top 100 wide receiver. I think he's probably a little underranked. I'll get to his film in just a second. But I think one of the issues here is that just some other wide receivers have entered into the mix, some bigger, faster guys, bigger profile players. But I think Marcus is a big pickup. When you combine him with the other recruits that OU's looking at wide receiver, I don't think he really is second to anybody. So I think this is just from a recruiting ranking standpoint, on three, I think he's the fifth highest guy OU has right now. So, and like I said, he's a 4-star by every service. This is just a great pickup from a recruiting ranking standpoint. Now, from a video standpoint, Marcus is really a great wide receiver. As you can see from these huddle highlights, he works all over the field. He's comfortable playing out wide. Just a great pass here. He's kind of separating downfield and just makes a fantastic reaching catch right there. So he's comfortable, working from the slot, also being an outside receiver. That's another fantastic catch he makes there. I think if you have any thoughts, the first things that come to mind to me is that, when he's covered, he's not really covered. He's able to get separation, but he's also does a fantastic job making contested catches. He's quick. He has good speed. He doesn't have elite speed, but you just watch him, just how complete a receiver he is there. That cut there and that separation, he almost took that to the house. To me, he reminds me, I think he's a slot because of his ability to work in the middle of the field, find gaps in coverage, separate from defensive backs. You see that play right there. He just, very simple pass. He takes it for about 30, 40 yards. So I think from that standpoint, Marcus, he's just making big plays. Again, that catch there, again, he's just falling away and getting and being able to make that catch with a pass that's a little off. He's making a very good contested catch there across the middle. He's not afraid to go across the middle. And again, he's about 6 foot, 6'1", 180, 185 pounds. He's separating here. Great job catching that ball in bounds. So he does have a long game to him. But this is the kind of stuff you expect from the slot, between 3 or 4 defenders making the catch, just doing a great job. This shows his quickness here. Quick screen pass there, and there's not really great blocking, but he's able to take that for about 15 yards. Sort of a similar situation here, wide receiver screen, bad pass, low pass, but he's still able to find a seam and go for about 15 to 20 yards right there. So really, when you just watch these highlights, you see just a versatile set of plays. He's making great catches, contested catches, and it's really, it's a great highlight reel. And the other thing is, he plays at Mater Dei. Mater Dei plays a competitive schedule both in California plus nationally. See that pass right there? If that's thrown on the line, Harris walks into the end zone having created great separation and using his speed to go downfield. So, really, I think from that standpoint, Harris is just an excellent slot for OU, I think. I think he kind of would dominate from the slot and is a player that if I had to come up with an OU comp, I would probably use Sterling Shepard as my comparison. I know that's a lot. We all know Sterling, but you're just watching him. Similar frames, similar speed, and just the ability to make play after play after play on the field. He's just a sensational wide receiver. I think this is a big pickup, and as I mentioned before, I think he started in the top 100 earlier in the year. And I think that's probably where he should have stayed. He's just a sensational looking wide receiver. And again, Mater Dei, they play a national portion of their schedule playing, top teams like IMG Academy. So sometimes you see a wide receiver dominating and you have to wonder, is this a product of who they're playing? And he's just so athletically better. Mater Dei's playing Bosco, Junacera, and nationally they probably, play teams like Bishop Gorman, IMG, and other big time prep schools. So it's just a great schedule, that they play, and I think Marcus is a huge pickup. So what does this mean for OU in terms of wide receiver recruiting? So I think it's pretty obvious that I think Harris is a big time addition to the group. You combine Harris with Elijah Thomas, who I also think is a top 100 type receiver. And then you add Grayson Harris, who's probably in the top 250. And it's an excellent group of receivers. Both Thomas and Harris are composite 4-star top 150 guys, top 150 range right about now. Harris only has a 4-star ranking by Rivals, but it's a really good group. So I think OU probably will add one more wide receiver to this mix. That could be 4-star Florida wide receiver Cortez Mills, who visited with Harris, and OU seems to have done a good job of that visit. Mills has recently canceled his Miami visit for this coming weekend. Maybe he replaces it, but that's looking like a Clemson OU battle. 4-star Lancaster, Texas receiver Emmanuel Choice is visiting for the barbecue. He's a bigger guy, 6'4", 200, so he would be an interesting complement to Thomas, Harris, and Harris. And then OU also has elite top 100 target Andrew Marsh from Houston, who should be in town as well. I'm not sure where Marsh's recruiting is. He just visited Texas. It's always a little hard to know where OU is with Andrew Marsh. I've kept him in predictions based upon some data from spring. Things have maybe changed a little bit. It's kind of hard to tell. And then I think it's impossible to overlook that OU just opened a potential pipeline to California powerhouse Mater Dei. OU just offered a 2027 tight end from Mater Dei, and for 2026, Mater Dei has a top 50, top 100 offensive lineman that I'm sure OU will offer. So it's, you can open that pipeline to Mater Dei. I think, Todd Bates, right after the Marcus Harris commitment, was talking about California pipeline, was excited about that. So beyond his talent level, he probably gives OU a chance to at least have a voice talking up OU at Mater Dei High School. So I think this is a huge addition for OU. Again, he's a 4-star composite 4. He plays a position of need at wide receiver, because OU obviously lost Jaden Nickens in late January, early February. So, and to be able to realistically turn him from just visiting into a commitment in 48 hours, I think highlights what a great job the OU staff and Emmett Jones did in recruiting him, and also just how well OU put together their visit weekend last weekend. To be able to get that message across, land all of their messages, be able to sell everything that OU has and do it so effectively in a 48-hour time period, I think speaks well to what's going on in Norman with some, because there's been some turnover in the recruiting staff. So with the new recruiting staff in place, seem to be doing a great job. So thanks everyone for listening. Please subscribe. Please give us a thumbs up, and we will be back with our next commit video talking about Rider Mix.